So, hi, and welcome to today's podcast. My name is Jen Bjornson. I am your host of the Basic to Bold podcast. And here we talk about mindset, the stories we tell ourselves, and how those stories, those lies, affect us in whether relationships or our physical health or even our financial. And they stop us from creating the life that we actually want. So, I wanted to specifically talk about tonight the lies or the stories that we tell ourselves that really affect our relationships. And the thing is everybody tells stories. Everybody tells lies about themselves. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you live in life. I don't care what age you are. We all have stories. We all have these lies that we're telling ourselves. And in every aspect of our life, these stories, these lies are going to affect every aspect of our life. And most people are trying to get more money. Most people are trying to get better relationships. Most people are trying to get better physical health and just be excited about life. Most people, want to enjoy life and not hate waking up. That was me. That was my issue. I'll be really honest. I did not start all of this to help other people. My main goal was, I don't want to wake up and hate living. Like, I just want to not hate life anymore. That was truly my main goal. And I jumped in with the whole, maybe it's gut health, maybe it's my diet, maybe I need to exercise more. I did all of that and nothing ever fixed. Nothing ever helped. Nothing ever worked. And then I came across looking at the psychology of it, even past trauma, or some people call it energy work. There's a lot of names surrounding it, but the psychology of what is actually going on. What am I dealing with? And so when I started looking at that, it was really interesting how quickly things started to change and how quickly things started to change in my relationships because I'm going to give you the big secret to life and the big secret to relationships. I'm the problem. I'm the problem in my relationships. I'm the problem. Now, that's not to completely blame myself. Other people have other issues, right? Like my partner's issues affect my issues, and my issues affect my partner's issues, and my triggers affect my partner's triggers, and his triggers affect my trigger. Like it gets all weaving into it. But the reality is, when I started working on my own issues, my own triggers, and my own stories, and the lies that I was telling myself, that's when things started to change. That's when things started to change in my physical health. Things started to change in doing business, and especially in my relationships to everything. So that's what I wanted to focus today, is specifically talking about relationships and how those stories that you're telling yourself affect all the relationships in your life. Now, it is no shocker. I've talked about this multiple times, but if you're joining me for the first time, we tell ourselves three basic lies. Everybody does. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you are on the planet. Everybody tells themselves three kind of basic lies. That is, one, I'm not enough. Whether I'm not tall enough, I'm not young enough, I'm not old enough, I'm not brunette enough, I'm not blonde enough, I don't have enough muscles, or I'm not smart enough, or I don't live in the right this enough, right? We say these, I'm not enough in some way, shape, or form. That's the first one. And it's the most popular. The second one is we tell ourselves, oh, I'm different. I'm kind of weird. I don't belong. And I feel like I don't belong. And that's a very scary feeling. And I could get into the whole psychology of it. Doesn't really matter, but that's kind of the basics of it. The third one is other people can achieve this. Other people are going to be successful in this, but not me. Other people can have put whatever into it, but not me. Other people can make money. Other people can lose weight. Other people have good relationships, but not me. And that's really what we all tell ourselves. Those three basic things. And again, doesn't matter who we are, we all do it. Now, typically they come from childhood. That's not a shocker, but they typically come from childhood. The reason we do this, and this is something, if you've heard the three things that we've done before, but the reason we typically do this is because it gives us a need. It gives us something that we are desperately craving. If we don't do something because we don't feel like enough, then it gives us a need. And just stick with me on this, because I hope it doesn't get, I mean, I know I can go down the rabbit hole sometimes, but this is really important, because if you could understand this concept, you can start figuring out what's going on in your relationships, why you keep dating the same person over and over again, or why you keep letting certain people cross boundaries that you know should not be crossing boundaries. Okay. So just hold on. Okay. So the reason we do the things that we do is because it gives us something. And I get it. You probably are resisting this concept, but it is. And the 6 basic needs are variety, consistency, love and connection, growth, and contribution. Now, I'm going to focus strictly on variety, consistency, love and connection, and significance. And I think I forgot those. I'm going to repeat them again because that might have been a little confusing. The 6 needs are variety, consistency, love and connection, significance, growth, and contribution. And again, I'm going to focus on the top 4, which is variety, consistency, love and connection, and significance. So when you do something that is not aligned with who you really want to be, when you do something that you don't really like doing, or you get frustrated, or you let that person cross a boundary, or you stay with a person that you know is not that great for you, and you continually be in this situation that you're just like, why can't I get out of it? Why can't I stop this? It's actually because in that situation, you are getting a need. And sometimes that need is the fact that you're like, this is good enough. Like, if I leave this person, I'm getting a tiny, tiny bit of love and connection. And maybe it is the smallest amount, but that's better than nothing. And the reality is, this is where those lies come in. I'm not good enough to get even more love. If I leave this person who's clearly not healthy for me, who's not treating me well, but in the back of your mind, you're going, but who's really going to love me? And maybe this is enough. Maybe this is all I'm ever going to get, right? So we start with a lie, and then we hold on to that because it's giving us the smallest amount of a need we are so craving. We're desperate to get. It's why we accept such little things, is because we're so craving this need, and we're so craving this something in our lives that we're so desperate we'll take even the tiniest bit. So a lot of times, we go back. I'll take family members as an example. Sometimes we say, okay, from a young, of course, like I said, things happen in our childhood. So typically they come from our childhood. And a good majority of the time, we are craving our family to show us love and connection, or we are craving our family to show that we're important, that we matter. We want our parents to be like, hey, I'm really glad you were born. And for some of us, that didn't happen. For some of us, that's not reality. For some of us, our parents are like, ugh, it's you, right? Or, ugh, like, you clearly know that maybe you didn't feel wanted. And so that need to feel wanted, that need to feel love and connection, that need to feel significance is so screaming out that when we find somebody that gives us the tiniest bit, we latch onto it. I mean, absolutely latch onto it. And so even though that person may not treat us very well, the fact that they give us a tiny, tiny morsel, we're willing to do it because in our thoughts, we're going, okay, well, I'm not really lovable. People aren't, my own parents didn't really love me. So at least this person's willing to give me like a tiny little bit. I'll take it. I'll take it because at least that's better than nothing. So these are the lies that we tell ourselves, that you're not good enough, that you're not lovable enough, that people aren't going to care about you, that, if my parents didn't love me, then who's ever going to love me? Or maybe you were taught to be invisible, to sit down and shut up. Kids should be seen and not heard. And if that's the case, then sometimes, being a bold and very significant type person, it's a struggle because then you think, who wants to see me? What do I have to say? And it's way more than imposter syndrome. It's way more than imposter syndrome because you're dying to be seen. You're dying to have this significance, but also in the back of your mind, you're fighting this, who cares? Who's going to care what I have to say? My own family or my old boyfriend doesn't care about and told me that nobody cares. People tell me they don't like me. I've always picked the wrong friends who tell me, I speak ridiculous, or maybe you're struggling with speaking, and the fact that you are trying to get it out is a struggle. So now you're fighting your head and you're going, this doesn't make any sense. And now nobody wants to listen to me. And it's just this constant fight. It's just this constant fight about you wanting to be something. You want to be significant, or you want love and connection, or you want this or that, but you have this story. You have this belief that you're not lovable. You have this belief that you're not enough, or nobody's ever going to love you, or that you should just sit down and shut up. And those are just a few examples. I guarantee you that if you sit and you contemplate and you really think, you'll figure out what it is that you're holding on to, the story that you're holding on to. Because if you just sit in a quiet room and you think, what is the story that I'm really accepting in relationships? And just take it relationship by relationship, maybe with your partner, maybe with some friends, saying, I've got this friend who I say is a best friend, but this happens or that happens, or she takes money from me, or I really don't feel that great around her. Like I have people that make fun of me, but yet they call me their friend. And I don't like that. So sit and really think, what is it? What is it that you feel? What is the lie that you're telling yourself that makes you the person that they are okay making fun of? Because it really goes back to, this is not something that you want to hold on for shame. I in no point, at no part am I talking about shame. What I'm talking about is, if you can figure out the story that you're telling yourself, and if you can figure out why that's not true anymore, why that's not you anymore. Okay, maybe it was you as a child. Understandable. Maybe as a child, maybe you were told to sit down and shut up and nobody wanted to hear you. That's a real thing that happened to you. But as an adult, you have things to say. You have importance. People want to hear you. People are interested in your story. Think about social media, right? We watch the craziest stuff. There are people who will just sit and make like crochet stuff and people will watch it. There are people who just garden and will watch it. There are people who do Pokemon and Star Wars and all this crazy stuff, and people will watch it. And so the fact that you are telling yourself you're not interesting, or people aren't interested in you, or you should just sit down and shut up, that's not a thing anymore, because you have experience and you have knowledge that you can help people, or you can add value to people. And you have a special set of unique skills that only you can do the way that you do it. I know, I'm sure right now, whatever you're interested in, you could probably think of 5 to 10 people who do the same thing. There are how many people with podcasts out there? How many people are talking about mindset? How many people are telling you probably the same thing that I'm telling you? But the reality is, nobody can tell you the way I can tell you. Nobody has the same experiences that I have. Nobody has gone through my life in the way that I've gone through it. And so I have a unique set of a view on the world and a unique way of looking at things. And yes, other people are going to talk about this very topic, but they're not going to talk about it the way that I would talk about it. And that is the same with you. You have a unique set of skills that only you can do, and only you can show up in the way that you do it. And that is a very valuable skill set. That is a very valuable asset. And so these stories that you're telling yourself, or you're believing from your parents or from past partners, or I mean, I've even heard of teachers who shame and make kids feel horrible. So it doesn't matter who you hear it from. There's a lie somewhere in there, and you are so valuable, but you are believing the lie. You are believing that you're not smart enough or you're not lovable enough. And it's just not true. And your part, not to add shame, not to add guilt, but your part is to say, okay, what is the lie that I am believing? And what is it getting me? If this lie, if I believe I'm not lovable enough, then what is it giving me? Is it giving me love and connection? Is it giving me significance? Because is it keeping me in this relationship that is not healthy, that does not have good boundaries? Because I don't think I'm worth any more than what this is. Maybe I don't feel like anybody really likes me. So the best I can get is this group of friends who aren't nice to me, who make fun of me, who don't support me. That's what your part is. Your part is whatever lie you're believing. And at first, when you figure it out, at first when I started figuring it out, I kind of went to shame, I kind of went to guilt, and I thought, oh my gosh, I've ruined this stuff in my life and I've done this. Now I have to say, when I find things, these lies that I have been telling myself, I feel really empowered. I feel really empowered because if I'm the one believing the lie, if I'm the one who believes that, then I just have to unbelieve it. If I can prove to myself that it's not a real thing, if I can prove to myself that that's not a real lie at all, that I have a unique set of skills, that people should listen to me, I'm the only one that determines what is correct and not correct for me. There is no special person that has been bestowed in this world that gets to determine who gets a podcast. There's no person in this world that bestows the honor of who can talk about mindset. There's no person that bestows the honor upon somebody who can learn how to gain a skill or who can be an engineer or who can be a professor. Like, we're waiting for someone to bestow this honor and say, you have made it. You now are able to do that. And that's not a real thing. We're all waiting for that. That's what imposter syndrome is we're all waiting for somebody to say, hey, you know what? You should do this. And even sometimes we do have people telling us that you should do this. And we go, oh, no, I could never. Oh, I mean, other people are so much better at it than me. And we actively push it away. We actively push away this concept that someone's telling us we should do. Somebody's telling us we're good at it. And we actively push it away. And so even if somebody did bestow it upon us, we push it away anyways. But that's not real. It's not real that somebody gives us the honor or somebody says, you are now able to execute whatever it is that you're interested in. We say that. We're the ones that get to decide. If I want to start a podcast, I'm the one that gets to decide if I want to put forth the effort and the energy to start a podcast. If I want to write a book, I'm the one who decides if I'm going to write a book. Now, I can't say if anybody's going to read it. I can't say if it's going to go well, but I'm the one who decides if I get to do it. And it's that simple. And so many people stop themselves from advancing in relationships because they're so scared. And it is scary. It is crazy. The thought of leaving people behind, the thought of leaving people behind is so scary because the thought that you're going to be alone is so scary. But I have to tell you, if those people are not cheering you on and making you feel better, it is better to be alone. It is better. It's better to be without those people and be by yourself in your own good company than with people that make you feel bad. It's better. And one of the things that we have to start with, so many times we focus on outward relationships and we don't focus on the relationship that we have with ourselves. We're seeking outward validation so often, but we don't look at what we're saying to ourselves. We don't look at the fact that from the moment we wake up, and we rip ourselves to shreds. We tell ourselves how ridiculous we are. I can't believe that you think you could possibly do this. We say the most hurtful things to ourselves and hope that other people's validation will make us feel better when we're telling ourselves absolutely horrific and shameful things in our own mind. It does not work that way. If you want to feel better about yourself, you need to start talking to yourself better. Look at yourself in the mirror, look into your eyes, and say, I am lovable. I am enough. People like me. Say whatever you want to say. And I'm telling you, it is difficult at first. It is so hard because the majority of us absolutely loathe ourselves. But yet we want to find people that make us feel better. But the crazy thing is, even if you found people that really liked you, even if you found people that lifted you up and made you feel amazing, you wouldn't believe it because you're telling yourself how crappy you are. You're telling yourself what a horrible person you are. You're telling yourself it's not enough. So if that is your struggle, first start with you. What are the lies that you're telling yourself? What are the lies that you're telling yourself about relationships? What are the lies that you're telling yourself about your partner? Figure these out because if you can stop these stories, if you can stop these lies that you're telling yourself, this is the biggest part of figuring out your happiness, figuring out who you are as an individual, being your true authentic self and being happy and peaceful and comfortable in your own skin. You are never going to find somebody that's going to make you feel comfortable in your own skin. It's not a thing. You are going to make yourself feel comfortable in your own skin. And if you're struggling with this, the number one thing that you can do is I have a Patreon account and you can go and sign up, and there are tons of recordings. I add them all the time. I'm keep adding to them, and you can do hypnosis recordings to start removing these stories. If you can't figure out how to do it on your own, this is the thing that I have started as a Patreon account so that you can go and start to do it while you're in your sleep. You don't even have to think about it. Go pick one, whether it's focus, whether it's motivation, whether it's anxiety, whether it's feeling enough, feeling lovable. Those types of things are going to help you figure it out, figure out the stories, figure out the lies that you're telling yourself and actively removing them without you actually having to do any of the work. So I trust that this was super helpful for you guys. I am so grateful for all of you who listen and who stick with me. And I really, really appreciate it. I love and appreciate anybody who would share this on social media and share this with somebody who you think this could help them with. Is so appreciated. All right. Love you guys and have an amazing week.